First Contact story opens on Station Alpha 7, a massive space trading post floating in neutral space between 3 different alien territories. The station serves as a meeting ground for dozens of species, all conducting business under strict diplomatic protocols. Captain Jake Miller leads a small human delegation representing Earth's newly formed Galactic Trade Council. Humans have only been part of the galactic community for 2 years, and they're still learning the complex web of alien customs and social rules. Jake's team includes Dr. Lisa Park, a xenobiologist, and Commander Tom Reed, a military advisor. The station buzzes with activity as various alien species conduct their business. The humans notice how different species interact with each other. Some bow, others emit specific sounds, and many maintain careful distances based on their species requirements. During their first day, Jake's team attends a formal welcome ceremony in the main hall. Representatives from the powerful Nexari Empire are present, including Ambassador Kira, a tall, elegant being with silver skin and luminous blue patterns that shift across her features. The Nexari are known throughout the galaxy as master diplomats and traders, but also as a proud and formal species dot as the ceremony proceeds. Jake observes the careful way other species interact with the Nexari delegation. Everyone maintains formal distance, speaks in measured tones, and follows precise protocols. The Nexari themselves appear reserved and dignified, acknowledging others with slight nods and formal phrases. After the ceremony, there's a reception, where different species mingle in designated areas. Jake notices Ambassador Kira standing alone near a viewing window, looking out at the stars. Her blue patterns seem dimmer than before, and she appears lost in thought. Without thinking about protocol, Jake approaches her with his usual human friendliness. "That's a beautiful view," he says, gesturing toward the stars. "You look lovely standing there. The starlight really brings out those blue patterns in your skin." The moment the words leave his mouth, the entire reception hall falls silent. Every alien in the vicinity stops their conversations and stares. Ambassador Kira's blue patterns suddenly flare bright, cycling through colors Jake has never seen before. Her large eyes widen, and she takes a step back. Dr. Park hurries over, her face pale with worry. "Jake, we need to go," she whispers urgently. "Now." But Ambassador Kira raises her hand, and when she speaks, her voice carries a strange tremor. "Wait," she says, her patterns still shifting rapidly. "What did you mean by those words, human?" Jake, confused by the reaction, answers honestly. "I meant you look nice. The light makes your skin patterns really stand out in a good way. It's pretty." The silence stretches longer. Other aliens begin backing away, and Jake can hear worried murmurs in various languages. Some species are making what appear to be protective gestures. Ambassador Kira stares at him for a long moment, her patterns gradually slowing their rapid changes. Finally, she speaks again, but her voice is different now, softer, almost vulnerable. "No one has ever," she begins, then stops herself. "This conversation is not finished, Captain Miller. I will speak with you again tomorrow." She turns and walks away, her entourage of Nexari diplomats following in obvious confusion. The other aliens in the reception slowly return to their conversations, but Jake notices they keep glancing in his direction. "What just happened?" Jake asks Dr. Park. "I'm not sure," she admits, "but I think you just broke every rule of Nexari's social interaction. We need to research their customs immediately." Commander Reed joins them, looking concerned. "The station security chief wants to speak with us. Apparently, there are some species here who think what just happened was either an insult or a threat." As they leave the reception, Jake can't shake the image of Ambassador Kira's changing patterns and the strange tone in her voice. He had simply meant to be friendly, but somehow his words had caused a reaction unlike anything the other aliens had ever seen. That night, as the human delegation researches Nexari culture in their quarters, they discover something troubling. The Nexari have complex social hierarchies based on formal respect and distance. Personal comments about appearance are apparently reserved for only the most intimate relationships. But they also discover something else. The Nexari have been part of the galactic community for over 1,000 years, and in all that time, no species has ever dared to speak to them with such casual familiarity. Jake begins to realize that his simple compliment may have started something that could change human-alien relations forever. The question is, will it be for better or worse? As he falls asleep, he wonders what Ambassador Kira will say when they meet again tomorrow. Understanding next morning, Jake wakes to find an urgent message waiting for him. Ambassador Kira has requested a private meeting in one of the station's diplomatic chambers. Dr. Park insists on coming along to help navigate any cultural misunderstandings. When they arrive at the meeting chamber, they find Ambassador Kira alone, which surprises them. Nexari diplomats usually travel with full entourages. Her blue patterns move slowly across her silver skin, and she seems different from the composed figure they met yesterday. "Please, sit," she says, gesturing to chairs ranged around a small table. "I must ask you something directly, Captain Miller. In your human culture, what does it mean when someone comments on another person's appearance?" Jake exchanges a glance with Dr. Park before answering. "Well, it depends on the situation. But generally, if someone says you look nice or pretty, it means they find you attractive or pleasing to look at. It's usually meant as a friendly gesture or a compliment." Ambassador Kira's patterns shift to a deep blue color. "And this is normal behavior among humans, even with strangers? Pretty normal, yes," Jake confirms. "Though we usually keep it polite and respectful." "Fascinating," Kira murmurs, leaning forward. "In Nexari society, personal appearance is never discussed openly. Our patterns change based on our emotions and health, but to comment on them is considered extremely intimate. Only life partners or very close family members would ever speak of such things." Dr. Park nods understanding. "So when Captain Miller complimented your patterns, it was like he was claiming an intimate connection with me." Kira finishes. "But here is what puzzles me, Captain. Your words felt genuine. Not like a political maneuver or an insult. They felt kind." Jake feels heat rise in his cheeks. "They were meant to be kind. I'm sorry if I offended you or broke your customs. I honestly didn't know." "You did not offend me," Kira says quietly. "You surprised me. In my 50 years of diplomatic service, no being has ever spoken to me as simply a person rather than as a representative of my empire. Your words made me feel. I do not have the term in your language." "What do you mean?" Dr. Park asks gently. Kira's patterns shift to warmer colors, gold and soft orange. "Among my people, we are taught from birth to maintain formal dignity. We represent our families, our clans, our empire in everything we do. Personal feelings are set aside for the greater good. But when you spoke to me yesterday, for just a moment, I felt like Kira the individual, not Ambassador Kira of the Nexari Empire." She stands and walks to the window, looking out at the stars. "I have been thinking all night about this feeling. I realize that in all my years of diplomatic service, I have never had a simple, honest conversation with someone from another species. Every interaction has been carefully scripted, every word chosen for political effect." Jake joins her at the window. "That sounds lonely." "Lonely," she repeats the word slowly. "Yes, I believe that is the correct term." She turns to face him, and her patterns brighten. "Tell me, Captain Miller, do all humans speak so directly about their feelings?" "Most of us try to be honest about what we think and feel." "Yeah, life's too short to spend it pretending to be someone you're not." "Life is too short," she echoes thoughtfully. "We Nexari live for over 200 years, and yet I think you humans understand something about living that we have forgotten." Dr. Park, who has been quietly observing, speaks up. "Ambassador, if you don't mind me asking, Why did you want to meet with us today? Kira returns to her seat, her patterns now a steady, warm blue. Because I want to understand this human way of being direct and honest. And because I want to apologize for the reaction in the hall. Yesterday, many of the other species present have never seen an Nexari respond emotionally to anything. They were shocked. Are you in trouble with your own people? Jake asks, concerned. Perhaps, she admits. But I find I care less about that than I expected. Your words yesterday woke something in me that has been sleeping for many years. I would like to learn more about human customs, if you would be willing to teach me. Jake smiles. I'd be happy to. But fair warning, humans can be pretty unpredictable. For the first time since they've met her, Ambassador Kira's patterns brighten into what can only be described as a smile equivalent. Captain Miller, I believe that might be exactly what I need. As they continue talking, none of them notice the small recording device hidden in the wall or the figure watching from the corridor outside. Asterisk. Consequence word of the unusual meeting between Captain Miller and Ambassador Kira spreads quickly throughout Station Alpha 7. By the third day, the human delegation finds themselves at the center of a growing diplomatic crisis. Commander Reed bursts into their quarters early in the morning, his face grim. We have a problem. The hegemony delegation is demanding a formal hearing about Jake's inappropriate conduct. With Ambassador Kira, the hegemony represents a coalition of older, more traditional alien species who view humans as dangerous newcomers to galactic society. Their leader, High Counselor Vex, is a tall insectoid being known for his strict interpretation of diplomatic protocol. They're claiming that human behavior threatens the stability of interspecies relations. Reed continues. They want Jake banned from all future diplomatic missions. Dr. Park looks up from her research pad. It gets worse. I've been monitoring communications, and several species are now questioning whether humans can be trusted to follow galactic customs. Some are even suggesting that Earth's membership in the Galactic Trade Council should be reviewed. Jake stares out the window at the busy docking bays below. All because I told someone they looked nice. It's not about the compliment itself. Dr. Park explains. It's about what it represents. Humans have a reputation for being unpredictable and emotional. This incident is being used as proof that we can't be trusted in delicate diplomatic situations. A door chime interrupts their conversation. When Reed opens it, they find Ambassador Kira standing in the corridor, but she's not alone. Two other Nexari diplomats flank her, their patterns dark and formal. Captain Miller, she says, her voice carefully neutral. I have been instructed by my superiors to inform you that the Nexari Empire will not be participating in any trade agreements with Earth at this time. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. The Nexari Empire controls some of the richest trade routes in the galaxy. Without their cooperation, Earth's economy could suffer significantly. Kira, I'm sorry, he begins, but she raises her hand to stop him. Ambassador Kira, she corrects, her patterns now completely neutral silver. I am here in my official capacity, only, but as she speaks, Jake notices something the other Nexari diplomats can't see from their position behind her. Her patterns aren't completely neutral. There are tiny flickers of blue and gold around her temples. Barely visible, but definitely there. I understand, Jake says carefully, but I want you to know that I meant no disrespect to you or your empire. The damage is done, one of her escorts says coldly. Human unpredictability has been noted by the Galactic Council. Your species lacks the discipline required for serious diplomatic relations. After they leave, the human delegation sits in stunned silence. Finally, Commander Reed speaks up. We need to contact Earth immediately. This could affect trade agreements with dozens of species. Wait, Jake says, standing up suddenly. Did you see her patterns when she was talking to me? What do you mean? Dr. Park asks. She was fighting it. Whatever her superiors told her to say, she was fighting it. Those little flickers of color. She was trying to communicate something. Before anyone can respond, their communication system activates. The voice of High Counselor Vex fills the room. Attention human delegation. You are required to attend a formal hearing tomorrow at station R14 o'clock. The charges are violation of diplomatic protocol, inappropriate conduct with an allied ambassador, and bringing disruption to station operations. Captain Miller will answer for his actions before the full diplomatic council. The communication cuts off, leaving them in heavy silence. This is it, Reed says grimly. If this hearing goes badly, it could end Earth's participation in the galactic community before it really begins. That evening, as Jake prepares for what might be his last official act as a diplomatic representative, he receives an unexpected visitor. Dr. Park's assistant, a young linguist named Alex, arrives with a puzzling message. Sir, I've been analyzing the communication patterns from various species over the past few days, Alex says, holding up a data pad. I've found something interesting. While most of the official diplomatic channels are condemning the incident, there's a lot of unofficial chatter that's different. Different how? Jake asks. Well, it seems like some of the younger diplomats from various species are actually curious about human behavior. They're asking questions about our customs, our directness, our emotional expressions. It's like your conversation with Ambassador Kira has started people thinking about things they never considered before. Jake studies the data, hope stirring. In his chest, are you saying we might have allies we don't know about? I'm saying that maybe, just maybe, you didn't break something that was working perfectly. Maybe you revealed something that was already broken. As Jake prepares for tomorrow's hearing, he wonders if one honest compliment might change more than just his own fate. The diplomatic hearing chamber is filled to capacity. Representatives from over 20 species sit in tiered rows, their various forms creating a colorful but tense atmosphere. Jake sits at a simple table in the center, feeling very small and very human. High Counselor Vex towers over the assembly from his elevated position. His compound eyes glitter as he begins the formal proceedings. We are here to address the disruption caused by Captain Jake Miller of Earth, Vex announces, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. His actions have violated established protocols and threatened the stability of interspecies relations. For the next hour, various witnesses testify about the incident. Security footage is shown. Cultural experts explain the severity of Jake's breach of Nexari customs. The case against him seems overwhelming. Finally, Vex calls Jake to speak in his own defense. Jake stands, looking around the chamber at the alien faces watching him. He spots Ambassador Kira in the Nexari section, her patterns carefully neutral. But he can see the tension in her posture. High Counselor, honored delegates, Jake begins. I stand before you not to deny what I did, but to explain why I did it. A murmur runs through the chamber. This isn't the apology they expected. 3 days ago, I saw a person standing alone, looking at the stars. She appeared thoughtful, maybe a little sad. In that moment, I didn't see an ambassador or a representative of an empire. I saw someone who looked like she could use a kind word. Jake pauses, gathering his thoughts. I've been listening to the testimony today about protocols and proper procedures. I understand that different species have different ways of interacting, but I want to ask you all something. When was the last time any of you had a genuine conversation with someone from another species? Not a negotiation, not a formal exchange, but a real conversation where you talked about what you actually thought or felt. The chamber falls silent. Some delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. The prosecution says I threatened stability. Jake continues. But what kind of stability are we talking about? One where we're all so afraid of offending each other that we never really connect at all. High Counselor Vex's voice cuts through the chamber. Order and respect between species has maintained peace for over 1,000 years. Human. Your emotional outbursts could destroy that. Could they? Jake asks. Or could they help us build something better? Before Vex can respond, a voice speaks. Up from the gallery, I would like to address the council. Everyone turns to see Ambassador Kira standing in the Nexaris section. Her escort diplomats look shocked, their patterns flashing alarm colors. Ambassador Kira, Vex says sternly, you are not scheduled to testify. Nevertheless, I invoke my right as a member of the Galactic Council to speak, she replies. Her voice steady dot as she walks to the center of the chamber. Jake notices her patterns beginning to shift. The neutral silver is giving way to warmer colors. High Counselor, honored delegates, she begins, for 50 years. I have served as a diplomat. I have negotiated treaties, resolved conflicts, and maintained the dignity of the Nexari Empire. I have been successful because I followed every protocol, respected every custom, and never allowed personal feelings to interfere with my duties. Her patterns continue to brighten, shifting through blues and golds. But 3 days ago, Captain Miller spoke to me as if I were simply a person worth noticing. Not an ambassador, not a political tool, but a living being deserving of kindness. And for the first time in decades, I remembered what it felt like to be truly seen. Gasps echo through the chamber. Several Nexari diplomats are on their feet, their patterns flashing in apparent distress. The prosecution claims that Captain Miller's words were inappropriate. Kira continues, her voice growing stronger. I claim that they were necessary. They reminded me that beneath all our protocols and procedures, we are individuals with thoughts, feelings, and dreams. She turns to face Jake, and her patterns are now brilliant gold and blue. Captain Miller, your words did not insult me. They honored me. They made me feel valued as a person rather than just a political position. The chamber erupts in chaos. Some delegates are shouting. Others are making rapid communication gestures. High Counselor Vex is calling for order, but Jake only has eyes for Kira, whose patterns are now shining brighter than he's ever seen them. Furthermore, she says, raising her voice above the din, I formally request that the Nexari Empire reconsider its position on trade agreements with Earth. Any species that values individual dignity alongside diplomatic protocol deserves our respect and partnership. As the hearing dissolves into animated discussions among the various delegations, Jake realizes that his simple compliment has done more than just start a diplomatic incident. It has started a revolution in how species might relate to each other. New. Beginning 6 months later, Jake stands in the same observation lounge where he first met Ambassador Kira, but the station around them has changed dramatically. The rigid seating arrangements that once separated species have been replaced with mixed gathering areas. Delegates from different worlds sit together, sharing meals and conversations that would have been unthinkable before. The Galactic Council has approved the new cultural exchange initiative, Kira says, joining him at the window. Her patterns flow in gentle waves of blue and gold, colors Jake has learned indicate contentment and friendship. Hard to believe it all started with me putting my foot in my mouth. Jake replies with a smile. You put your heart in your words, she corrects. There is a difference. The past 6 months have been turbulent but transformative. The hearing had ended with no formal censure of Jake, largely because Ambassador Kira's speech had sparked something unexpected among the younger diplomats. Within days, representatives from over a dozen species had quietly approached the human delegation, expressing curiosity about Earth's more direct approach to relationships. The traditional faction, led by High Counselor Vex, had fought the changes fiercely, but they found themselves increasingly outnumbered by diplomats who were tired of purely formal interactions. The breaking point came when the young prince of the Zalari system publicly thanked Jake for showing us that diplomacy doesn't have to mean emotional death. How are things with your superiors? Jake asks. He knows Kira has faced significant pressure from the more conservative elements of Nexari society. Changing, she admits. The Empress herself has expressed interest in these new diplomatic approaches. She says that perhaps it is time for the next Sari to remember that we are more than just our empire's representatives. Through the window, they can see the docking bay where ships from dozens of worlds come and go. But now, Jake notices the crews don't just conduct business and leave. They linger, talking, sharing stories, building connections that extend beyond mere trade agreements. Captain Miller, a familiar voice, interrupts their conversation. They turn to see Dr. Park approaching with a group of young diplomats from various species, a promising sign of the new mixed delegations that have become common. The afternoon session is about to begin. Dr. Park continues. They're discussing the proposal for interspecies cultural festivals. As they walk toward the meeting chamber, Jake reflects on how much has changed. The rigid protocols haven't disappeared entirely, but they've been balanced with opportunities for more personal interaction. Species that had barely communicated for centuries are now discovering common interests and shared values. There's something I want to tell you, Kira says quietly as they walk. Before I met you, I had been considering retiring from diplomatic service. I felt empty, like I was just going through motions without any real purpose. And now, Jake asks, her patterns shift to a warm, steady gold. Now I feel like we're building something worthwhile, not just trade agreements or peace treaties, but actual understanding between different forms of life. They enter the meeting chamber, where the atmosphere is noticeably different from Jake's hearing 6 months ago. Delegates sit in mixed groups, and the conversation flows naturally between formal presentations and casual discussions. High Counselor Vex, though still formal, has adapted to the changes. He even nods respectfully to Jake as they take their seats. The proposal before us today, Vex announces, is to establish regular cultural exchange programs between member species. These would include artistic exhibitions, educational exchanges, and what the humans call friendship visits. The discussion that follows is lively but respectful. Species that once spoke only in careful diplomatic language now share stories about their worlds, their customs, their hopes for the future. During a break, a young delegate from the insectoid hive collective approaches Jake. Captain Miller, I wanted to thank you. Your example helped me find the courage to speak more openly about my own thoughts, rather than just echoing the collective's positions. Similar conversations happen throughout the day. Jake realizes that his simple act of treating Kira as an individual rather than just a diplomatic position has somehow given others permission to be more authentic themselves. As the session concludes with the overwhelming approval of the cultural exchange program, Jake and Kira find themselves back at the observation window. Do you think we've changed things for the better? Jake asks. Kira's patterns flow in complex spirals of blue, gold, and silver. A display Jake has learned indicates deep contentment mixed with hope for the future. I think, she says, we've reminded everyone that beneath all our differences, we're all just people trying to connect with each other. And that might be the most important diplomatic breakthrough in galactic history. As ships from dozens of worlds move through the starfield outside, Jake smiles, knowing that each one carries not just cargo or official communications, but the possibility of genuine friendship between the stars. The revolution started with a compliment, but it grew into something much more, a galaxy learning to see each other as individuals' worth. Knowing the end asterisk,